So good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. And today I would like to talk about taking control and going one step further. And that is all of us fielding independent candidates, not only for the local elections, but also for the parliamentary elections, which we all think will be coming up in May, though no official announcement has yet been made. So time is of the essence, and we have to make lots of haste, which means being very organized. But two-party system obviously doesn't work. Currently, with the WEF, the WHO, and all the other nefarious organizations, it's ultimately one-party state, and it doesn't matter who you vote for, you're going to get a diet of more doom, gloom, disaster, food shortages, everything's shortage, and it can't go on. So in the description I have put the link to Peacekeepers. If you want to know how local government works, they're very good on that. They're also good on the judicial system, but they're also good on local government. There is a book which I haven't put in the description because I haven't found out whether it's still in print or not, but if you can get a copy, British Constitution Made Simple, which gives the basic guidelines of how local government works, as well as national government, and the requirements for being a candidate. So basically, if you haven't been in prison for a very long time, sometimes people go to prison for very minor things, you're still eligible to stand for Parliament. You're still eligible if you've been late with your library books or you've had a speeding ticket. You don't have to have had a blameless existence or the existence of a saint, as we've seen by the behavior of our representatives nationally anyway. Alright, so my advice is definitely to carry on speaking. Everybody speak to each other. And there's also an organization called the Freedom Alliance, which is fielding candidates and which does want to hear from you if this does interest you. And they also have the information required on all the various aspects of becoming a candidate and how to run your campaign. One of the obvious things is obviously to have a website. Second thing is to have a platform. It doesn't have to be 500 pages long. It can just be the most important priorities of the day. We are not short of priorities at the moment. We have to get rid of net zero. We have to have proportional representation at local government level as well as national level. We have to get rid of the two-party system at all costs. Otherwise, we're really shooting ourselves in the foot. We have to stop this invasion. It's not even, you can't even call it migration. It's just an invasion. We have to do a lot of things very quickly, and most of us agree on, just like supporting the farmers, supporting people who are now suffering because of a certain medical intervention. We have to really take back our institutions, take back our government. We have to create a free and independent network of news agencies, because we can't count on anything that the mainstream is giving us. We have a lot of work in front of us, but we can do it, and it is teamwork. And in a team, not everyone's going to be the striker, not everybody's going to be the good midfield player, and not everybody's going to be a good goalie, but the mix of all these talents, when they work together as a team, does get results. And so, apart from doing your internet site, there is a hell of a lot of organization, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm a specialist in this at all, but you do have to think very carefully about what the priorities are, You then have to think how much time and effort you're going to put into canvassing, how you're going to communicate, and thank goodness there is the social media. That will be a great help to you. And then there's, the flyers and the badges and public meetings, and having a space where you can have public meetings that people can get to and it's safe, and letting people know about this, obviously. But that is our way forward. When you elect people to represent you, and everybody knows, for instance, that we want the war to end in the Ukraine, you had the Russian president last week telling the world that he's quite happy to sit down and negotiate, just stop sending the arms. He didn't say stop propping up this daffy Mickey Mouse regime. He just said stop sending the arms. Right? So, no, where are the official peace talks? They're not listening to us. Between 400,000 and 500,000 Ukrainian men have died for a war that is unwinnable. What's more, it's a war that Zelensky actually got elected to end. And the Minsk Accords were torn up by Boris Johnson, as we saw on the interview. Which I thought everyone knew in advance anyway, it was so obvious. Anyway, so long as you're not a member of the WEF, the WHO, and other nefarious organizations, then more or less you are eligible to stand as a local councillor or as an MP. And when I say nefarious organizations, I mean directly and indirectly. So if funding is a problem and the deposit required is a problem and you're receiving donations, do vet where that money is coming from to make sure that you don't find yourself in an embarrassing situation, as most of our MPs have. So there's a whole list of laws we have to revoke. We certainly have to get proportional representation in. That is really so important. We have to, for instance, tell the banks that it's time they paid back the British taxpayer who bailed them out. Iceland made sure that they didn't get away with anything. Iceland was the only country in the world that jailed their bankers on the 2008-2009 crisis, and they fined the banks. We have to also control these public monopolies that have become private monopolies, like water, gas, electricity, especially water, where they're paying enormous dividends but are polluting our rivers and sending effluent to the sea, and not providing a particularly good service either, and putting fluoride in which we don't need and don't want. So all that has to come under public control again. The French actually have a very good system whereby the state always has 1/3 of all private utility companies, privatized utility companies. Now, I think also, given that the British public subsidize these utility companies, they should actually be able to have shares given to them, which was not at the privatization. Those shares, every single British taxpayer and everyone who was paying their utilities and had been paying their utilities, phone, water, electricity and gas, was subsidizing a state monopoly, and service wasn't too bad. There's always room for improvement, but given what the private companies are getting away with now, enough is enough. And yes, we should have been given shares as part of the privatization. And I think we should definitely get our share of the cake, even if it is retroactively. Sorry, but there's no such thing as a free lunch, and these guys have had a free lunch on us, just one too many, and too often. All right, I wouldn't bother being woke if you're going to stand for election, right? There is place for a proportion, a dose of compassion. There has to be in everything. Plato said, there is no education without education of the heart. But woke just runs all over it. Woke doesn't even allow for free speech. And as Voltaire said, I might disagree with everything you say, but I will defend with my life your right to say it. Which brings me on to a little argument I'm having with my town council. They won't let me ask a question concerning 0-point energy. Now, 0-point energy is unlimited energy. It's free energy. The patent is free to use. The patent exists. If you look at my previous podcast, Taking Control, all the references are there. The author of the patent is Salvador Cesar Pais. The owner of the patent is the US Navy. And there is free energy technology out there which puts the whole net zero argument out of the window because it's non-polluting, limitless energy. Non-polluting. And we can have it for free. Right? So there will be, farmers can run their tractors for free. You can run your car for free. You can run your house, heat your house, and run all the appliances, the big ones and the small ones, for free. Right? The patent is free. They're not asking for any royalties. There is no monopoly on this energy. And I'm not even allowed to pose a question about this. So obviously I'm writing to the person in charge of governance at the council, and I'm keeping things as polite and as nice as possible. But obviously if eventually they say, no, go away, then I'm just going to keep coming back, just louder and not necessarily as politely as I should. But I am definitely going to persist. Now, we are at a turning point. We're not going to live in gulags. We're not going to eat insects. We're not going to have lab-grown meat shoved down our throats, thank you. And we do have to unite, and we do have to stand up for what is decent and just. So please do field independent candidates. If you're listening and you don't think you're candidate material, then ask one of your friends. But get together and do something together, and do not take it sitting down. Do not fall into the typical British idiom, the typical British trap of too little, too late. We must make haste. Thank you very much for your time. Have a really great evening. Please note I am doing this during daylight time, and I sincerely hope the lighting and the sound are convenient and good. Thank you.